They had weathered the storm of celebrity romance once. They had survived the impossible schedules, the separation, the constant scrutiny. When Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun finally chose to keep their rekindled love private, it was a decision rooted in a desperate desire for real life, a secret garden away from the harsh spotlight. Their love existed in late-night calls, hushed texts, and stolen moments, a precious, fragile thing. But the media, the relentless, hungry machine, always finds a way in. The catalyst was not a paparazzi photo or a leaked conversation. It was something far more insidious, a major, career-defining interview granted by Lee Min-ho to an international lifestyle magazine. The piece was supposed to be about his new charity work, his vision for his company. But the journalist, shrewd and predatory, slipped in the poisoned question. Are you ready to settle down? Is a serious commitment a priority right now? Min-ho knew the answer he had to give. He had to protect their secret garden. But what he delivered was a calculated, career-focused betrayal. My focus is on my global audience right now. Marriage and long-term relationships are a beautiful distraction, but honestly, they are exactly that, a distraction. I have a mission. I owe my fans and my company my undivided, singular focus for the next few years. That is my commitment. The rest, well, the rest can wait. The words, clean and precise, were like tiny shards of glass. They painted him as a noble, single-minded king, sacrificing personal happiness for his empire. But to Kim Go-eun, sitting in her quiet, sunlit apartment, reading the translated words on her tablet, they were a public, soul-crushing rejection, a dismissal of her. The air in the room felt suddenly cold. Go-eun didn't need to cry. She needed to act. She picked up her phone. A phone ring, followed by the sound of connection. He answered on the first ring, his voice low, happy, perhaps even relieved that the interview was finally out. Una, you saw the article? Good, right? It sets the perfect tone for the launch. We're safe. Our secret is safe. No, Min-ho, you're safe. My secret is gone. You just told the entire world that I am merely a beautiful distraction from your mission, that your mission is more important than the reality of us. Wait, that's business talk. PR, you know I didn't mean it like that. It's just words, to keep them away, to protect what we have. Words are currency, Min-ho, and you just spent me. You betrayed the one thing we agreed on, that we would be honest about our worth. You used our love as a tool to polish your halo, and that is a betrayal I cannot forgive. There was a silence on the line, heavy and absolute, the sound of a man watching his world crumble. This is the call that changed everything. Don't call me again. I'm cutting ties, not with a breakup, but with an amputation. I need to save the part of me you didn't manage to turn into a PR soundbite. Goodbye, Min-ho. A clean, sharp click as the line disconnects. The truth hung in the air. She cut him off not because he ended the relationship, but because he used it. Lee Min-ho had protected his career, but annihilated his heart. He was left alone, holding the trophy of his singular focus, with the terrifying realization that his beautiful distraction was the only thing that made his life beautiful at all. The click, that clean, sharp sound of the line disconnecting, was the end of their world, but the start of Lee Min-ho's personal reckoning. The celebratory champagne from a magazine launch sat unopened on his desk. The room felt immense, echoing with a silence that swallowed his breath. He stared at his phone, his reflection distorted in the black screen. The king was alone in his fortress. He had expected her anger. He had rehearsed the defense. The pressure from sponsors, the need to maintain a certain image, the fear that a public, serious relationship would be exploited and ruined by the media. But her words were not an accusation. They were a diagnosis. You used our love as a tool to polish your halo. The shame was immediate and paralyzing. He hadn't just sacrificed their future. He had insulted their past. He had validated every cynic who believed his love. For Kim, Go-eun was just another career move. He had become the very stereotype he swore he would never be. Days turned into a blur of meaningless obligations. Photo shoots, meetings, endorsements. He moved through them like a ghost, his famed smile now a muscle memory, empty and brittle. The world saw the successful star, the dedicated professional. No one saw the man who kept replaying that final, devastating call. He tried to rationalize it. He told himself he did it for her freedom, so she wouldn't be perpetually shadowed by his status. But her final words stripped away that defense. I need to save the part of me you didn't manage to turn into a PR soundbite. He hadn't protected her. He had defined her worth publicly, and he had defined it as secondary to his ambition. Meanwhile, Kim Go-eun kept the silence absolute. She changed her phone number. She adjusted her schedule, accepting roles that took her outside of Seoul, far away from predictable orbits of their shared industry. She wasn't running. She was rebuilding. Every decision was a calculated move to establish her own narrative, a fortress built entirely on her own terms. Her friends were bewildered. The public was confused. The narrative shifted from amicable split to sudden Cold War. They blamed stress, distance, timing. No one dared to whisper the truth. That Lee Min-ho's own words, given freely and for professional gain, were the weapon that severed the connection. Months passed. Their paths inevitably crossed in an award ceremony, a massive, unavoidable collision of two stars. The atmosphere froze when they were spotted on opposite sides of the room. Min-ho's eyes searched for hers, desperate for a flicker of recognition, a sign of anything other than indifference. Go-eun saw him. She felt a familiar, dangerous tug in her chest. But she was fortified now. She smiled not at him, but at the cameras, a radiant, powerful smile of a woman completely and utterly unburdened. She walked past him to accept an award, her acceptance speech ringing with a theme of integrity and the importance of speaking one's truth, even when it's inconvenient. Min-ho stood still, watching her triumph, knowing he had engineered his own defeat. He had chosen the temporary praise of the media over the permanent honesty of her love. And now, the cost of his media betrayal was final. She hadn't just left him. She had erased him, and she was thriving in the space he had forfeited. The silence after the call was the sound of his future with her, permanently muted. The silence from Kim Go-eun was her most potent weapon. It was an absence that screamed the truth, forcing the media to fill the void with speculation. Lee Min-ho's public persona, once immaculate, began to suffer the slow erosion of doubt. The initial narrative of dedicated focus turned stale. People started asking, why the harsh dismissal? Why frame love as a distraction? For Min-ho, the professional world grew toxic. He was constantly fielding veiled questions about his sacrifice, questions he couldn't answer honestly without triggering a scandal that would cost millions. He felt like a gilded statue, beautiful from the outside, but hollow and chipped within. Every script he read, every line he spoke about love or commitment, tasted like acid. One day, his old friend, the one he confessed betrayal to, placed a printed transcript on his desk. It was an extract from a recent, minor interview given by Go-eun. She hadn't mentioned him by name. Of course, she was too smart for that.